Eco poetry in a time of climate change inspires us to act and to address the crisis of climate change. Good day, fellow writers. Welcome to our virtual gathering on eco poetry, writing creatively for our only one Earth.
(2022) Calabanga Enviro Contest. Environmental competition for elementary and secondary students of Calabanga on September 6, 2022. Eco Poetry. Environment Poster. Mobile Photography. All throughout the world, people are concerned about climate change. Children, teenagers, and adults all take small actions that add up over time to have a big impact on the environment. Everyone must become aware, knowledgeable, ethical, and capable of taking action to safeguard the environment and address climate change.
Calabanga is active in environmental advocacy, particularly on ecological conservation and climate action. The local government, schools, youth organizations, civil society, and volunteer groups have been active in implementing various programs and projects that promote environmental awareness. In celebration of the 273rd Town Fiesta, iLab ARAL, led by the local government unit of Calabanga and Municipal Tourism Office, will spearhead the 2022 Calabanga Enviro Contests on September 6, 2022 to instill environmental and climate change awareness to young students.
Objectives: develop public awareness on environmental conservation and climate change education for children and youth in the community. Showcase the creative skills of elementary and secondary school students through poetry, drawing, and photography. And influence the people in schools and communities to take action on the environment and climate change.
This made possible through the effort of iLab ARAL and collaboration with Municipal Tourism Culture and the Arts.
All right, so today is our preparation for the upcoming event on September 6th, and we will be conducting the 2022 Calabanga Enviro Contest featuring eco poetry, enviro poster, and mobile photography. Headed by iLab ARAL, the local government unit of Calabanga, and the Municipal Tourism Culture and the Arts of Calabanga. We have invited expertise in literary peacemaking. Without taking much of your time, let me first introduce our first speaker. He is a firm believer in workshops as a venue to hone the craft of budding writers in this part of the world. He is a member of Parasurat Bicolnon, Kabulig Bicol, and the Writers Project. He was a language and content editor for the learning modules of the Department of Education from 2018 to 2019, and served as Bicol translator at the same time a language and content editor. A program of the Asian Foundation and USAID from 2019 to 2020. During the pandemic, he started organizing the webinar series Wandering Words, Wandering World, designed as literary conversations with his writer and teacher friends in 2020. Recently, he was invited as one of the lecturers in the Hulagway Conversation Series, which was organized by the National Commission for Culture and the Arts. His publications include Oda sa Tadik, 2010, published under Ubud Series by National Commission for Culture and Arts. Lobo, 2012, published by Salabay Press and Bicol University College of Arts and Letters. And Padangat, published by Parasurat Bicolnon Series in 2020. He won in the poetry category at the Premio Tomas para sa literaturang Bicolnon for his poetry collection, Pagbugnag nin Paroy, a Sinibapan Rawit-Dawit in 2008, and his novel, Journal Entries, won the Valedor Award for Bicol Novel Vincitore X ICO in 2019. To enlighten us about poetic line, let us welcome Mr. Jerome M. Hipolito.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? All right, so let's start. Let me discuss to you this afternoon poetry writing and, of course, our advocacy, the love for the nature, the love for environment. Allow me to begin this webinar by talking about the person, the human, the writer, the poet as a creator, as the manlilikha. The poet, just like the writer, creates a world. He or she makes sure that this world is beautiful. Kaya may revision, kaya may pagrebisa, tamawutan ng magayon ang isusurata. The writer is in the rewriting. Okay lang ang magrebisa, okay lang ang ma-edit. Kasi dapat yung writer willing to revise his work. Walang overnight masterpiece, sabi nga. Dahil parte ng proseso ng pagsusulat ang pagrebisa. Lumilika ng mundo ang makata. Lagit-laging mayroong mata ang makata para sa magagandang bagay. Maganda ang mundo. Through poetry, we are able to view the beauty of this otherwise noisy, dilapidated, ugly, and dangerous world. Despite this, despite everything, life is still beautiful. Let us now talk about poetry. What is poetry? Ano nga ba ang tula? Ano ining inaapod niya tong rawit-dawit? What is this really about? The description of poetry is always a work in progress, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have one unifying definition for poetry. There is no definite definition of poetry, perhaps because it is so elastic, ever-moving thing. Thus, it is too difficult to capture. But what is certain is that poetry communicates through metaphors. Mahalaga yung metafora sa tula. Ito yung buhay niya, ito yung hininga ng rawit-dawit, yung metafora. If there is something to consider as the nucleus of poetry, it must be the metaphor. Ang metafora, ang wika ng tula. Ang metafora, ang tataramon kang rawit-dawit. In poetry, there is a movement, a change, a distortion, a gap, a silence, kauntukan, a disturbance, a rearrangement, or that which is defamiliarized. Kapag tumutula ka tungkol sa tubig, pero pero nagtatapos lang ito tungkol sa tubig, baka kailangan nating irebisa kasi there should be a certain movement, a travel. There must be a change, no? That's what poetry is. Hindi lang siya sa iisang level, mayroon siyang another level na mundo or meaning. There is a poetic situation, may poetic situation ng tula. Something that is happening, a phenomenon, and this phenomenon is a crystallized moment. Kini-crystallize natin ang moment sa isang tula. Kasi gusto natin siyang ma-immortalize. That's what poetry is. Because we wanted that the future generation would see how beautiful the world is, then we have to write poetry. Ano ang mundo sa panahon ngayon? Ano ang kagayunan kang Kalabanga sa panahon ngayon? So that particular thing should be in our mind when we are actually writing about nature, about environment. So hindi lang siya poetic situation. Poetry can also be ephemeral. Yung kagandahan na hindi kagandahan na mabilisan lamang, no? Yung environment, yung bulaklak, hindi siya laging fresh. So we have to capture that. When the flower blooms, we can capture that to different forms of arts like photography, in our case, writing, poetry. That which will be but not yet, no? Nasa kalagitnaan yung tula. Liminal, that is why there is a room for uncertainty, for the ambiguous, for the bizarre. I have been teaching creative writing since 2010, and I have attended various workshops as introduced earlier. But there is just one constant question from young writers about writing. Which is, what will I write? Yun yung talagang laging tinatanong sa mga workshop man ito, sa training or webinar like this. So the concerns of budding writers, of young writers really is, what will I write? Ano ang isusulat ko? Ano ang susuratod ko? But I would always respond to this question by saying that the better question to ask is, how will I write again? Kailan ako muling susulat? Paano ako magsusulat muli? Kasi nga, because we were all writers before, everyone is. But it is just when we were growing up at a certain time, certain point, we stopped writing to do something else. Perhaps you were too busy practicing for a dance step, or singing a new song, or trying out new dishes. Yeah, may pinagkakaabalahan tayo aside from writing. When you were a child, I know that you were like writing always to your parents, scribbling things on your notebook. The question is, when will you write again? Kailan ka ba muling magsusulat? It will take some courage to go back to writing, ladies and gentlemen. So how to start again? ang hirap kasi magsimulang muli, di ba? So kasi nakalimutan natin isang magandang bagay na tayo mismo ay makata talaga. We're natural poets. Lalo na dito sa Bicol, ma-in-love ka lang ng kaunti na kapag susulat ka na ng tula. There are many ways to generate ideas for writing. You can try listening to a favorite song, or watch a good film, or read a good book, or travel. Travel, get lost and wander, visit an art gallery, paint, draw, doodle, try new things, try things you haven't tried before, visit new places alone this time, no? Because we're always visiting places with our friends. Live a literary life. Mamuhay ng malikhain, no? Dream well, mga managinip, mga turog. Remember your dreams. Dreams are the oasis of writing. Managinip tayo at managinip tayo ng maganda para sa kinabukasan, para sa environment, para sa kapalibutan natin. Develop your imagination too. No? Imagine. What is imagine is real. Sabi ni Jimeno Abad. Totoo dahil naiisip. Totoo ang isang bagay dahil naisip natin. Develop your imagination, and you can only do so if you will not forget your childhood. Dapat naroon lagi sa atin ang puso ng isang bata. Don't grow old. You don't have to. Diba? Sabi nila, you just have to grow up. Observe people. No? Mahalaga na nag-o-observe tayo. You observe people around you. Magmarites if you like. Okay? That's the language of nowadays. Observation, research can give you details for poetry. You can get a possible line or a stanza or a complete set of poetry by just observing your surroundings. Sa katotohanan, dahil ako nagtutubod sa mga musa. No? Muse. Sabi ninda, you can only write if you have muses. May pagtubod kaya ako na kinigibo-gibo sa nasindakan mga parasurat. Ngani na may mabalos sinda kung day sinda nakakasurat. Kung ano, ay baana ni, day ako nakakasurat. Day ako pinapasurat ng padangat ko. Barasulan lang. Yeah? Sasabihon na may ligaya nganing may mabasol. Bakong pagpadangat mayong barasulan, di ba? Ang aram ko sa pagpadangat, kung padangat, mayong pero. Pero ang magigibo, anong magigibo ko? Trip ninda na may inspiration sinda, di ba? Mayo daang parasaan ng trip. Okay, walang basagan ng trip. Okay, padangat, inisa na ang araw ko. Padangat ka, di ba? They would say that. Okay. Let's talk about the muse. The muse is a mysterious word that is closely associated with artists and writers. Sila talaga ay yung ini-invoke sa simula ng epic bago magpuon ang agi-agi kang panwaano, the epic hero. Na-Christianize na, sila yung pinatutunguhan ng invocation sa events, di ba? Kaya may invocation before we have certain events inside the campus. O ng prayer ng opening prayer, diba? Prayer leader sa loob ng classroom. Traditionally, we have around 8 muses of the arts. Liban pa yung mga gods and goddesses of the West and the local Diyos at Diyosa ng Philippines who are dedicated to the arts and literature. In Bicol, we remember the asug as he performs a ritual to send off the bakunawa, preventing him from swallowing the moon, which will take away the lights from the banwaan. But allow me to discuss instead the muse as a personification of what makes an artist, and what makes a writer as a writer. If you like, what makes a poet a poet? After all, the most essential thing for the budding writer is not really to problematize who a muse is or whether or not she exists, but what really makes a writer write. Ano nga ba ang nagpapasulat sa isang manunulat? Ano ang nagpapasurat sa sarong parasurat? Therefore, I say the muse, when taken as that which makes a writer write, may take the face of a deadline. Nakapagsusulat tayo dahil may deadline. Alam ito ng mga journalists, di ba? The muse may take the name of a deadline. Writers, especially those who are commercialized or those who are commissioned to write, may be inspired to write by deadlines. Alam natin lahat yan ng mga teacher. The muse, when taken as that which makes a writer write, may also take the face of a critic, yung teacher mismo. When one blindly reads the work for the purpose of improving the manuscript for publication, just in the case of a writer's workshop, where established writers give pointers to young writers on how to improve their manuscript. Diba? So we subject our manuscript for critic in a workshop, so we can produce publishable works. The muse could also take the face of a teacher. No? A teacher is 50% deadline and 50% critic. Diba? Ganun makapangyarihan yung teacher natin. The teacher is therefore a combination of the two, deadline plus critic. The teacher loves giving deadlines and at the same time writes his or her annotations as a guide for his or her students in the revision process. Diba, ginagawa natin yung parehas bilang it's a combination of the deadline. We give deadlines to our students at the same time. We give annotations or recommendation on how to improve their work. The muse can also be taken as a critical friend. Diba? Kailangan yung kaibigan natin marunong tumingin sa kung ano ang maganda rin, di ba? At yung kaibigan handa siyang sabihin sa atin yung mga mali sa mga isinusulat natin. A critical friend is a true friend, kumbaga, kasi naisasabi nila sa atin yung katotohanan kung kailangan pong revise or maganda na nga ba talaga yung at hindi yung friend na sinasabihan ka, oh, maganda yung damit mo, maganda yung isulat mong tula, pero sa totoo, hindi naman. So you are blinded with what really is, you know, the quality of your work. He or she gives objective feedback on your writing without the fear of you getting hurt. The muse could also be the reader. The existence of readership inspires writers to write more. Kapag alam nung makata, alam ng writer na may nagbabasa sa kanya, mas gaganahan siya na magsulat pa at magsulat ng mas maganda at mas naninindigan at mas rooted sa kanyang pinanggalingan. Kung alam mo na may nagbabasa ng mga sinusulat mo, may inspire ka na lalong magsulat pa, magpatuloy pa sa paghabi ng mga salita. The muse could also be the imagination. Sabi natin kanina, we have to develop our imagination. Anyone who has the healthy imagination can actually write well. Mahalaga ang paghaharaya sa pagkakata, sa pagsusulat ng tula. Kung tula man ito o nobela o essay o creative nonfiction. The muse could also be the memory. No? Memory could also be a very good source of writing. Use your childhood memory. Sabi natin kanina, huwag natin kalilimutan yung puso ng isang bata. Capitalize on your experience of remembering and forgetting. So things that we remember and things that we forget, these things are worthy to write, be it as a poem or as poetry or as novels or other form of art. The muse can be simply the lived experience. Sa Bicol, sa Tuya, agi-agi. No? Be observant of your own life and the life of the people around you, of your agi-agi and the agi-agi of others. The muse could also be a beautiful book. No? Read books. Sasabihin din yan sa atin mamaya sa ni Ma'am Eilyn, no? Magbabasa tayo kasi kailangan na ang writer ay nagbabasa rin. Yung manunulat ay mambabasa rin para we are able to appreciate the output also of other writers. Mahalaga yung pakikipagkapwa kapag writer ka. Read books, read good books, no? Be inspired by books. The muse could also be a good film, no? Manood din tayo ng magagandang pelikula. Nakakapag-inspire ang mga pelikula. Watch your favorite movie, or also you can challenge yourself to also watch those films which you don't like really, but might actually inspire you to write more and to write better. Listen to your favorite music. The muse could be a good music. Marami akong pinakikinggang mga magandang musika, lalo na kapag it's early in the morning. So I'm also inspired, no, writing something. You can actually start writing anything on your wall, in your Facebook account, or in your journal entry, or elsewhere. No, the point is that you write, and you write something every day, because it's part of your process of becoming a good poet. The muse can also be a favorite thing that you do. No? Do things you love and write about them. No? Sinusulat natin yung mga bagay na gusto natin. Hindi lang gusto natin, kundi masaya, mga bagay na masaya tayong gawin. Mga bagay na mahal nating gawin. Gustong-gusto natin gawin. The basic muse, of course, is the pen and paper. Wala na sigurong mas dadaig pa sa paper and pen as muse, di ba? Kasi anything that is inside your brain is not yet writing. If you want to write and you want to become a writer, you have to put all those things that are on your mind on the paper. So that's what writing, when things, the ideas are put on a paper, then it becomes writing, it becomes poetry, it becomes tula, rawit-dawit. There is no better way to start writing than to put words into your paper. Happy writing, everyone. Padangat, inisa na ang aral ko, di ba? Padangat ka, sabi tanganin. May panahon na na-addict man ako sa rawit-dawiting pagkamuot or love poems. Yeah? Kung buot magsurat, considering na klase ng rawit-dawit, di man yan problema. Although sinasabi natin, we discourage people writing love poems because there are many poets before us who have written already a lot of love songs and love poems. Lalo na yaon kita sa probinsya na magibsaw sana ang puso, nagiging pararawit-dawit na, as I've said earlier. Alaga, dipisil ang magsurat ng rawit-dawit kan pagkamuot. May babala pa nga ni Sir Nair Maria Rilka na iwasan na ang pagsurat ng rawit-dawit kan pagkamuot. Universal experience kaya ang pagkamuot. It's a universal experience. Everyone is experiencing it. Gabos nakakamati ka ini. Kaya baga kadakulon na nagsurat poon ki Shakespeare sa sangon niya ng mga parasurat o pararawit-dawit. Masakit kalaban si Shakespeare, may kakaiyan ganahan, uwian na, tiyak may nanalo na, di ba? Mahirap kalaban yung mga published writers already. Halagad, kung buot man gerari magsurat ng rawit-dawit, kan pagkamot, di magsurat, may man akong magiginibo kaya. Basta lang pagayunon tabi, di ba? Kaipuhan bako sana puro universality ang magiginibo ta. Diba? Kaipuhan man ang particularity. So you have to balance particularity and universality. What is universal about it is that it's a universal experience, love. But what will make a good love poem is the particularity of the experience injected in your poetry. No? Kung rawit-dawit ning pagkamuot, rawit-dawit ning pagkamuot ni Isay. It has to be particular. Walang universal lover tayo. It has to be particular lover. Para baliso-so ba ini? Para tao. We have to be particular in the experience too. Kaipuhan bako sa na puro universality, sabi tangani, no? Ang magayon na rawit-dawit kan pagkamuot considering universality plus particularity. Bakong dapat generic ang speaker. Malinaw dapat kung isay nagtataram. Kung parataho, dapat ang madadangog na boses sa rawit-dawit sa parataho. Bakong middle class na boses, bakong napakasosyal na parataho. Yan, no? Siring na kung parabaduya, dapat ang nagtataram o speaker sa rawit-dawit mo, parabaduya. Na boses parabaduya ang gamiton ta sa rawit-dawit na iyan. No? Padangat. Ayos man lang sa kuya, kung sa kurit mo, igwa ako ning sarong buhok, duwang dungo, tulong mata, 4 na kiray, 5 talinga, 6 na ngipon, 7 liog, 8 abaga. siyam na kamot, 10 bitis, basta baga may puso. Yeah? Sana, natatandaan mo na minsan sa buhay mo, pigurit ika ni crush mo. Pigurit ika ni crush mo. Kana tapos niya ang purit, mukha kang alien. No? Pero sabi mo, ay magayon ang purit, kurit ni padangat, nganing da siya makulugan. Iyan ang totoong padangat. Ginigibo talaga kitang putikon kan pagkamuot. Diba? Aram na. As a writer teacher, I like rawness. Gusto ko yung fresh, di ba? Raw but fresh. I actually love it. I love rawness. Gusto ko ang hilaw na labas. Raw but fresh. Ayaw ko sa aral masyado. Kalkulado masyado. Napaka-scientific. Technical masyado. Parang robot ang nagsulat. Ayaw ko sa mga robot dahil wala silang mga puso. Di ba? Kaya nga, I've started my talk today, this afternoon, by expressing that the poets are actually humans too. Mga tao yung makata. Kaya hindi natin dapat kailangan yung puso sa tula. Dapat kaya sa pagsurat, ini-enjoy tala. Di ba? We should not be writing so we can win a prize or we can have like prestige or fame. Itong daipirit, daipinipirit, ang prutas kung hinog sa pirit, maalsom, di ba? Dahil siya masarap. Siring man yan sa pagsurat. Ang hinog sa puod, baan ng hamis, no? Baan ng siram. Saro sa mga burabod kang metapora, iyo ang sadiring aki-aki. Sabi ni Rilke, bumalik sa sarili. Saka haputon ang sadirikon baga magtitigok. Kung matitigok ka, kung dai ka makasurat. Kung magagadan ka, kung dai ka makasurat. Kung your answer is yes, then kung totoo, then go. No? You proceed, you write. Dahil ito yung nagbibigay sa iyo ng buhay. So magsulat tayo kung ganoon yung klase ng sagot natin. Kung toong mawawaran inining hinangos, kung dai na makapagsurat, magpadagosan na sa pagsurat. Kaipuhan, komportable ang parasurat sa iyang agi-agi. Ang agi-agi, paano iyuan mataong mga metapora. So your own experience, your own existence will give you your metaphor. Magiging mas authentic kasi kapag yung mga metaphors that you will be using for your poetry comes from your own experience, comes from your own land kung saan ka nakatapak. Karawan ang mga metaporang ini, kaipuhan ang para surat at taong magkawat. So, the poet should be playful too. Kaipuhan matibay na para kawat ang para surat, lalo na ang mga aking para surat. Taaki pa, pwede pang mapasala. Tahubin pa, budding writer pa lang, pwede may pribilehiyo pa na mapasala. Pribilehiyo kan aki na mapasala siya, taaki pa siya. Ayos man lang na mapasalaan aki, taaki pa nga siya. Pag nagurang na, makasusupog na maray na mapasala pa, garo kakaian daing ginorangan, di ba? Padangat, tamsi na anpuro, pikabitan lata ning sardinas an enotang telepono. Pag nagtataram ka, nagdadangog ako. Pag nagtataram ako, nagdadangog ka. Ano ang sinasabi kan rawit-dawit? Ano ang daig sasabi kang rawit-dawit? Kapwa may pigsasabi, kaya may daig sasabi ang kapos na rawit-dawit. So, in poetry, it is not only important those things that are said in poetry. Importante din yung hindi sinasabi. The unsaid is as important as the said in poetry. May beses pa nga ni na ang daipig sabi, ang dakol na pigsasabi. The gaps, the silences may actually be shouting inside your poetry. Adik ako sa daipig sasabi sa kauntukan, di ba? Sa silence. Hapot, kung siring, ano ang isusurat? Simbag, isurat ang daga kung saan nakatungtong ang mga bitis. Duman sa kung saan ka nakatungtong, sa lupa kung saan ka nakatapak. The ultimate source of ideas for poetry is your oneself, your own true self. Yung sarili mong banwaan, yung sarili mong daga. Write your own time. Isulat ang panahon kung saan ka nakasali. Number 1, simulan natin sa lupa kung saan tayo nakatapak. Dai na magparasulat manungod sa snow kasi environment snow, di ba? Because it's not our reality, that is not our environment unless nagsusnow sa Ratay, di ba? Pero pag dahil nagsusnow sa Ratay, then you have to write something else, perhaps yung mga gamgam na puti sa uma, di ba? Dai isaksak sa speaker mo kung anong iniisip mo. Iba ang ika, iba man ang speaker mo. Diba mahulog ka kaan sa poverty porn. Itong rinoromanticize ang poverty. Baad parareho na kamong magtaram kan speaker mo. Pangit ang kakalwasan kan pagsurat mo kayan. Tandaan, irespeto ta ang speaker ta, isurat ta, bako sana sindang caricature, buhayon ta sinda. Let us turn them into lovable speakers, lovable characters, unforgettable speakers, unforgettable characters, memorable, no? Likeable. Those speakers of poetry that are not flat, that are not but believable. Itong dynamic, itong moving. Iwasan taman ang maging kasoreko writer. Ano mga kasoreko writer? The kasoreko writers are those writers that is only good because they're only using metaphors or images that are visible. We also have to write about the other senses, yung mga nadadangog, mga nananamitan, yung mga nakakaputan, bako lang sa mga nahihiling. Ito kung mayok ning kuryente, mayok na. Di ba sa nagangunyan mayong kuryente? So, pag ang poetry mo, kasoreko poetry, then wala silang mababasa. Considering address the 5 senses. Bakung puro sana ang nahihiling sana ang isusurat. Isurat man ang napaparong, ang nadadangog, ang nananamitan, saka ang nakakaputan. Sa creative writing class ko, ang inod kong assignment iyon magturog. Madali on magturog lang, no? Ang pangaturugan, as I've said earlier, arog sa metapora, ang sahiling ko sarong primerang klaseng feed kang asbo na yaon sa laog kang sa diri na nakapagpasurat sa tuya. Ang pangaturugan, danaw ning metapora. Sabi ko, magturog sinda dangan dai paglingawan ang tataramon kan pangaturugan. Taan tataramon kan pangaturugan ang tataramon kan puso. The language of the dream is the language of the heart, and that is the best language to use for poetry. Ang sabi ko sa inda, gamiton ang tataramon kan puso sa saindang panurat, tas daisinda mapapasala ka iyan. And then, kung siring, dai problema ang tataramon. Dai issue kung anong tataramon ang kaipuhan gamiton kang para surat sa iyang panurat. Ang tataramon, sakayan sa na iyan. It's a medium. It's a vehicle. Bako yan padumanan. It's not a destination. Lalo pa na sarong pangaturugan kan tataramon ng magi siyang rawit-rawit. It's the dream of the language to be a poem. No? Panaginip ng isang wika, isang salita na magi siyang tula. Ang pastime o hobby kan asbo na yaon sa laog kan para surat, iyoan magbasa ning libro. Pag minabasa kaya ng libro ang parasurat, nagtataas ang sa diri niyang taste sa literature. Mantang nagdadakol ang sa iyang nababasa ng libro, nagtataas man ang sa iyang pagpanlasa sa kung ano ang magayon na klase ng literatura. Bago ako matapos, kaipuhan ko dapat na malinawan na ang parasurat, kaipuhan maning advokasya. Diba? Kaya nga ngunya sa webinar niya to, ipig-bubulsol ta, ipig-pupush ta ining eco-poetry, ining pagpadangat sa kapalibutan gamit ang pagrarawit-dawit. Sa webinar tangon yan, pigtutulod ang pagpadangat sa kapalibutan. Ang pagpadangat sa kapalibutan, pagpadangat naman sa sadiri niya to. No? When you love the environment, when you love your surrounding, it's also another form of loving yourself. Magtula kita na may pagmakulog sa kung saan kita nakatungtong. As I've said, pinag-uuro-utro ko kasubago pa sa inyo. Tulaan taman ang palibutan. pagpadangat sa kapalibutan, ang pagpadangat sa kapalibutan, pagpadangat man sa sadiri. Okay. Maugmang pagsurat sa gabos. Salamat po.
Alright, so talaga naman laging mayroong mata ang Makata para sa magagandang bagay, as mentioned by Sir Jerome. So it's really kind of nostalgic, which is really great. So fellow writers, we are not writing to win the prize, rather we write because we enjoy it. So thank you for sharing with us your metaphors, Sir Jerome. We will now proceed with our second speaker. Eilyn. Our next speaker writes poetry, plays, essays, and stories for children, a number of which were published in anthologies both in print and in virtual forms. Her poetry chapbook, Pangaturogan, was released in October 2020 as part of Parasurat Bicolano Writers Series 1. She co-founded Teatro Ragayano, a community theater based at the Arnaf's compound, Barangay Liboro, Ragay, Camarines Sur, on December 27, 2015. And its artistic director and chief playwright. She is an actor on stage and in Bicol indie films. She is a member of the Parasurat Bicolnon Incorporation, an organization of Bicol writers, artists, and cultural workers. She teaches English and literature subjects in Ragay National Agricultural and Fisheries School. To give us knowledge about raising environmental awareness through eco-sensitive poetry, may I give it to Ms. Eilyn Nidea.
Yan, marhay na hapon po sa Tuya Gabos. Magandang hapon, good afternoon. So I will be starting with my presentation titled Sarumsom, Explorations in Eco-Poetry. Let me start with the term eco-poetry. So it is coined in 1980 by Robert Bly. It suggested that poets have long been writing about the environment, but we have also to differentiate eco-poetry from nature poetry. Mamaya po ipaliliwanag natin siya. So, this eco-poetry is a poetic, cultural, and social orientation. It is characterized by a sense of interrelationship between the human and the more than human worlds. So, ang mangyayari kasi po, writing eco-poetry is writing about our relationship with the environment, the natural environment, and our sense of responsibility toward our environment. So I invite you to go to the link, the source of this definition. Let's proceed po. So also, eco-poetry has a strong ecological emphasis. So hindi lang po ito tungkol sa environment. Papasok din po rito ang socio-cultural and economical concerns and concepts. So, mas palalalimin pa po natin kung ano po yung ating pwedeng isulat, hindi lang tungkol sa kapaligiran, kundi sa lahat ng konsepto na relevant at related po dito. So, ano po yung sinasabing nature poetry? Pag sinabing nature poetry, the topic of your poetry is the natural world, nature. Pero mas malalim kasi po yung eco-poetry or environmental poetry. Kapag nagsulat ka tungkol sa environment at magkaroon ng impact sa mga readers or audience, yun po ang eco-poetry. From your writing on the page or your mobile photography or your poster, you inspire others to take actions to care about the environment, especially during these times that we are very much affected by the climate change. That is environmental poetry. That is eco-poetry. So malinaw na po yung ating distinction. Hindi ka lang magsusulat about nature. Magsusulat ka ng relasyon mo sa kapaligiran at ng kung ano man ang magiging mabuting hantungan ng pagsusulat mo dahil your writing is an influence to others to take actions, preferably positive and sustainable actions to take care of the environment. That is a very successful eco-poetry. So, and also remember, it is according to James Angel Hart, it is surrounded with questions of ethics. What is right? What is moral? So, wag po nating kalilimutan yon. And placements of human societies and cultures within interrelationship to the environment. Wag po kayo mag-alala, marami po kaming ibibigay na samples. At gusto ko rin po sabihin na nung ginagawa ko po itong presentation na to, meron na po talaga kami sa Tagay National Agricultural and Fisheries School with my co-artists, Georgette R. Imperial and Annabelle A. Haber. We have in place an innovation project wherein we are applying in Arts 9 and Arts 10 and English 10 a resource book on eco-poetry. So mamaya po may mga samples I will be sharing with you. Now, this is very important. How do we contextualize these concepts of eco-poetry? So, ito po. Sabi kanina ni Sir Jay, balance, universality, and particularity. Contextualization is dealing with the context or the particularity in Bicol, in Camarines Sur, and Calabanga. So, these are some of the steps, and these are very doable. So, first, reflect on our own realities, our sentiments and experiences in the light of our relationship with Mother Nature, our natural resources, and all the systems and disciplines related and relevant to these. Naalala ko yung walang kamatayang tanong. Tanungin ko kaya si Sir Jerome ngayon, dito siya sa katabi ko. Ano ka po ba? Beach person, sea person, o mountain person? Beach. Oo, ako rin, pareho kami. May kakaibang magic o mahika ang dagat. So, pero gusto ko din yung mountain. Pwede bang both? O sige. Pero pag sa ngayon po, doon muna ako sa dagat. So kung ganun po yun, magre-reflect ka sa sarili mong reality, sentiments, and experiences. Then make a stand. Plan how to let the universe know. Manindigan ka talaga. Ito, magsusulat ako tungkol sa environment. At kailangang malaman ng ng universe. For what is the good of doing something which is good if the universe doesn't know about it? So you have to let the universe know. Then, let others know about your stand through art forms, campaigns, and advocacies, and other means. Kaya, very commendable po yung ginagawa ngayon ng ating iLab ARAL para sa Calabanga Eco Poetry Contests. At ito po yung challenge. You have your stand, you let the universe know about that stand, but you have to remain true to that stand. Kailangan panindigan mo, kailangan totoo ka, stay involved through collaborative efforts. Hindi lang po ikaw ang kumikilos. So, kailangan makipagtulungan ka sa kung sino pa man ang mga kumikilos. Para gaya ng walis tingting, kapag nagkakaisa at nagkakabuklod-buklod, mas malakas, mas pusog, kumbaga. Then, continuation. This is a lifetime advocacy. So, continue to reflect and act accordingly. So, kailangan ko lang po mag-share dito. Paano po sa Bicol, how do we contextualize these concepts of eco-poetry? Meron na pong mga pagkilos. Meron kaming The Bulos Anthology Experience. It is being edited now. Ang title niya ay Pagmurumalsok ning Kinaban. The first ever anthology of Bicol eco-poetry, edited by Eilyn Nidea, based in Camalig, Albay. So, ako naman personally, I write ragay. Talaga, ang dami-daming pwedeng isulat, pero dahil na I'm ragay-based, I write ragay. I write, I translate, I perform, I collaborate, gaya ngayon with Sir James and company, and I advocate. So, kailangan talaga pong gagawin natin yun. So, magsusulat kayo para sa ating environmental contest, eco-poetry contest. What is your reality? So, mag-iisip na kayo ngayon pa lang. So, now, idagdag ko lang din po, sa mga pagkilos tungkol sa writing about the environment, nandiyan din po yung publications ng Burak Journal, collections of poetry about the environment, founded, edited, and published by Sir Gode Calleja of Albay. So, pwede po ninyong i-check yung mga compilation ng Burak publication. May available copies po sa Savage Mind, Arts, Books, and Cinema sa Mayon Avenue, Naga City. So, ito po, let's proceed. Techniques and strategies. So, papunta na tayo. Paano tayo magsusulat? Simulan na po natin. I am very particular about these techniques and strategies. So, simulan natin sa LCI, localization, contextualization, and indigenization. Alam po ng mga teachers natin kung ano po yun. I will discuss it later, further later. I will be sharing with you also Bicol aesthetics at mababanggit ko po dito tuwing nag-share po ako about creative writing. I always share about Bicol aesthetics and yung sinabi ni Sir Jerome kanina na agi-agi sa katuntong. Pinangaranan ko na nga siyang tuntong aesthetics pero hindi ko yung nadadangog sa iya. So, discuss niya nakasubago, may hindi niyo sa slides ko na yaon talaga siya. Then I will be also sharing about sensory writing because it will be easier to write kung involved ang satuyang senses. And another strategy I will be sharing with you is about ekphrasis. So, let's go, let's proceed. So, uni po digdi kung ano ang localization, contextualization, indigenization. So, localization is basically the act of localizing. So, paano ka maglo-localize? Kung English, pwede mo siyang i-translate. Kung foreign, ampunin mo. Adopt it. Tapos, mag-adjust ka sa inampun mo. So, adapting. So, magagawa po natin yan. So, ano naman po yung contextualization? It is the act or process of putting information into context. So, kung halimbawa, there are strong natural phenomena, yung experience ng bagyo sa Visayas ay pwedeng may pagkakaiba sa experience ng bagyo sa Kamsur. So kung yung experience mo ng bagyo ay ilalagay mo sa context ng Camarines Sur o particularly sa context ng family mo o ng barangay mo, that is a form of contextualization. Indigenization is the process by which indigenous ways of knowing, being, doing, and relating are incorporated into educational, cultural, and social structures. So, sabi kasubag ni Sir Che, ang pagpadangat sa kapalibutan, pagpadangat sa sadiri. So, dahil kita nabubuhay, nakita lang, we are living on our one earth. But we have also other structures and institutions. Yaon din ng educational, cultural, and social structures. So gapos po ini, magagamit ta sa pagsurat manuod sa kapalibutan. Okay, o na po. Gusto noon po ini, perang beses ko na po ining naihiras. I have shared this in more than three seminar workshops I have attended. So, punanta po ang orag and hagkus. Maski po sa mga aking parasurat ngunyan, ini po coined ni Ma'am Dudes, Past, Verdades, and Santos. Ang Bicol daa, uragon. So, may duwang meaning ang orag sa Bicol. It can be positive, it can be negative. The positive side is Bicol has a trademark of being good, being one of the best, being maurag, loving. So, but then it has also a negative connotation. So, nasa sa indo na kung ano ang gagamitin nindo. That the hagkus is about women writing. The Bicolana, when the Bicolana writes, according to the hagkus aesthetics, the Bicolana is now in the process of getting away or breaking away from the bonds of people and structures and society formations which have been imprisoning or chaining the woman since the beginning of time. So pag nagsusulat ang mga Bicolana ngunyan, nahihiling na daa sa pagsusurat na nagkakaigunan ng pagbuhi o pagtalingkas. Igwa pong pigsurat tungkol sa si Sir Richard Madrilejos kang Albay. May pigluwas po siyang libro, ang Sulo. Ang Teatrong Bicol noon sa panahon ng pandemya. May pigsurat siya, pigbasa niya ang sakuyang sarong script sa Teatro Ragayano na litanya ng mga manggagawa. Pigbasa niya duman na base sa pigsurat ko na dula, nahihiling, natutuo pa ang pigsurat ni Ma'am Duz about hagkus. So, sana po makabasa pa mo katong librong ito. Si Sir H. Francisco B. Peñones Jr., ikaw man siyang sagkot. Ang sabi niya, pagsasagkot, pag nagsusurat da kita, garo kita, pwede mong sabihin na ang metaphor kang pagsurat ta. Garo sarong baka na nangagakod sa habayan ng PC. So kung sain lang ang sagkot, kung sain lang makakaabot ang baka, kung gaano lang kalawig ang PC o kahalaba ang PC, yun man lang yan ang coverage, yun man lang yan ang reach, kang sa imong pagsurat. Si Ma'am Lourdes Alnieva, ikaw man siyang tagubhang aesthetics. Ang tagubhang daa, kung may mga gaps sa memory, especially when we refer to our oral tradition, si mga istorya baka katong mga gurang sa to, tada siya na isusurat pa sa nasa libro, kung may mga gaps daa duman o kulang, kami nalingawan, pwede man daa, nakita na yaon nun yan, nagsusurat o nag-iistorya, tatagpian ta si mga gaps o pagkukulang. So, tagubhang is pagtagpi. Ngunyan, unay na nga ni si Sir Jerome, tuntong, the here and now. Guro, 2012 ko pa nadadangog sa iya. You write about where you are right now. Because the only place and time that we are certain of is here and now. Di man talaga. Sisay ang masurat kang tungkol sa rona mo. Siyempre, alangan man itong mga taga-ibang lugar. Kaya ako, I write Ragay. Siya, he writes Calabanga. And then, pwede ka man magsurat ng futuristic na akda. Pero, dapat kaya maisurat mo muna si Yaon kung saan ka yaon niyan. So si Ma'am Eilyn Nidea man po, ikaw man siyang maan and danas na nagagamit ko kaya po talaga ini sa pagsusulat, lalo na sa creative nonfiction, sa essay writing. So maan for me is focus. Kung dakulon ka dyaning evocative details, arin lang talaga duman, halimbawa may lima kang detalye, arin duman ang papaurugon mo. Mapiling kang saro, isusulat mo muna itong sarong ito. So that is focus or maan. Danas, of course, you cannot write what you don't have. So when you write, basically, experience mo talaga. Nabanggit na rin yan ni Sir Jay Kasubako. Sumaan and danas. So nakulo na po kamo pwede pagkuanan ning pagsusurat. Una pa po, may I also share it with you. Ginibo ko lang po ini kasi nagsusulat man po ako usipon, showing scenes. Kung paano ka magtatahi ng mga eksena. So pwede ka magpuon sa sensing and perceiving, acting on sensory information. Kaya nga baga importante ang sensory writing. So kumbaga saro kang espongha, nahahagupon mo gabos. Masasagum ka kang mga sensasyon, kang mga pagmati, hali sa kapalibutan, makakasulat ka. Tapos journaling, dala ko po yan ang journal ko. Ego po ako mga napapublish na nasurat, nahali sa mga journal ko, kang high school pa ako. So personal experiences and observations really work. Magsurat po kita sa journal. Pwede rin po ang mirroring or sa signs and reflections of the times. 2 taon na po labi na yaon kita sa lockdown or sa pandemic times. Kami po mga Bicolano writers and artists, dakulan po kaming na-produce na works during the pandemic. Dahil we are doing the mirroring. We write about the signs and the reflections of our pandemic times. Then, anchoring. Ay, culture-based po ini anchoring. O dapat po alam ta ang Bicol myths. O dapat basta si nabanggit kasubago ni Sir Jerome si Senior Asog sa Kasibakunawa. O ngunyan dapat bisita din po si Kurakog. Okay po, so magpuon kita sa mga Bicol myths and mythological characters. Then kabali pa po si anchoring ang schema or experiences. And sabi ko kasubago, observations. Igwa din po kitang imagining, ay maraymanta nabanggit ni Sir Che, fictionalizing perceived realities. So mag-imagine ka, mga turog ka. Maski po ako naglalakaw, nangangaturog po ako. So may tulala mode po ako. Then evaluating, pwede ka magsulat ng literary commentary. Essay po yan, sa wrong form iyan kang creative nonfiction. Then you can suggest, kung may nahihiling kang problema sa palibot ka, pwede ka man mag-suggest or offer alternatives. So iyan po mga techniques kung paano ka po masusulat. Ano po ang sensory writing? Sabi po, this is ako yung reference. It is used to provide the reader with a vivid or visual description of something. It is a very helpful tool, especially for children. So, because it creates detailed imagery. Siyempre, di ba, ang first perceptions of the world around us reach us through our senses. So, magpuon po kita sa sensory imagery. So, kung masulat po kita, isarong magayang na technique na aram ta na ang sarong linya pwedeng mahiling, pwedeng madangog, pwedeng manamitan, pwedeng makaputan, o mamatian. Tapos, pwede tang, sabi ko na itong malasahan. So, all the senses should be targeted. So, wait, mainom lang po. Then, we will proceed to expresses my last technique. So basically, ang expresses po is creating or crafting a form of art from another form of art. For example, sa eco-poetry, pwede kang magsurat ng sarong tula about the environment na hali sa sarong photography or picture. So, halimbawa, maganda ko kung maisipan kang iLab team na from the picture, pwede kang magsurat ng poetry. I-process yan. So, kahit may mga example po dito. So, ngunyan po, I am going to introduce 3 forms. So, nayaon sa tuya sa Bicol, tigsik. Sa tuya lang po ikukayan. Tapos tanaga, mga halipot lang po ang tigsik sa katanaga, kaya-kaya nitong isurat. Tapos free verse. Si mga pigsurat, pigpara surat sa pigbasa po ni Sir J. Casubago na about Gabuski Padangat, free verse poetry po ito. Yaon po ito sa libro niya. Okay, so ano po ang tigsik? Ang tigsik po, pag-umaw o pagtuyaw. Traditional Bicol spoken poetry form. Talaga po, dati po, dahil po talaga yan pigsusurat. Tataram po siya. Pero ngayon, nag-evolve na. So, masurat na kita. So, ang sarap pong stanza, may 4 lines. Tapos, ang traditionally po, may end rhyme siya na A, 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 A. May example po ako dyan. Pero, may variation na po niyan. It can be A, A, B, B. So, ito pong first, sa A, 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 4 na linya, ang last word niya, saro lang ang rhyme. Pero pag digdi po sa variation, sa first 2 lines, pareho ang rhyme. Sa third and fourth lines, pareho man ang rhyme. Okay po, ma-action po yan. Ano naman po ang tanaga? Tanaga is traditional Filipino poetry form. Igo man siyang 4 lines. Igo din po siyang end rhyme. A, 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 or B, 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 B. Kaya lang po, bibilangon mo. Because there should be 7 syllables per line. Okay po. Sige. Ang free verse man po, masaya. May siyang rhyme, may siyang meter. Pero, kailangan niya na marunong yung poet sa magaling na line cutting. So, a stanza can be the traditional 4 lines. Pero pag nagsusurat, lalo na pag haloy ka na nagsusurat, pwede ka naman na maaraman mo na lang, nadakulo ka ng linya. Tapos aram mo na, nakaipon mo ng i-end ang tula. Or sometimes, pag sige ka ng surat, aram mo na, ang tula mismo ang madikta sa imo, natapos na siya. Maaraman mo siya. Of course, you have to use figurative language and sensory writing. O kasi bago pig-request ko po si Sir J, ihapot na lang po nindo sa question and answer. Paano magsurat ng titles? Yun kaya po sa guidelines sa contest na dapat may title. Sa kuya po, sa nanodan ko, sa mga nasusulat ko, a poem title can be the central metaphor of or the central metaphor in the poem. So, siyempre sa title mo siya. It can be a word, or a phrase, or a sentence. Ang pinakagusto ko siguro ngunyan na nagigirumduman ko na title, yung kay Direk Carlos A. Arejola, wala akong bit-bit na sawi ang puso tuwing naglalakbay. Title po yan ng isang tula at ginawa ring title ng libro niya. Available pa rin po sa Savage Mind by Ateneo Dinaga University Press. O diba, nakapag-plug pa ako. So, ang title po, it can stand alone. It should be meaningful. Ang mga tula po ni Sir J, si Sir J po, i-chika ko sa Indo. Saro po siya sa pinaka-paborito kong poet. Basta po, permi po akong natutusok ang mga tula niya. Ang mga tula ni Sir J, kaya very effective. Their title pa lang, tula na. O, diba? Ganun. So, contestants, alam na this. Title pa lang, tula na. Ma-judge garo kami. Okay, ini na po, puro na po ini mga samples, saka po ginibo ko po gabos ang poem. Kasi nag-iiwas po kaya ako sa copyright, sa copyright issues. So, sa mga tula ko na lang po i-share ko. Allow me to share it with you. This is a product of an innovation project. Ginagamit ni po ini sa Regay National Agricultural and Fisheries School sa Arts 9, Arts 10, sa English 10. Masakiton po kaya baga magtukdo ning art saka English literature. So, give po kami paagi. So, ang duwang co-teachers ko po, nakabali ko man po sa Teatro Ragayano, Annabel Haber and Georgette Art Imperial, visual artists din po sila. So, may mga pigpili lang po ako. Don't you worry, ano mo lang po ini. Pigpili ko lang po ini. Tapos, piggibuhan ko po sindaning tula. So, sana makapasa kay Sir Jay ang mga tula. So, ito pong inot na mahiling po ni Duduman. Ang title po katong artwork is Nature's Promise. Ang example ko po dito, sarong tigsik, sarong tanaga. So, basahon ko na lang po, siyaon nagdadalang sa YouTube, yung mga nanonood sa YouTube, pwede nyo naman pong balikan. An panganuron bulod salog duot tigsik ko, katuninungan ang hatod sa puso nin tao. Maumayan ka nin siring kaining taanawon, mapapabayli ka pa sa gayon. Kalikasan na nga ako, may handog na pagsuyo. Galak sa isip, puso, at tao'y narahuyo. So, positive siya. So, sabi ko lang din po, I don't believe in muses also. Kasi po ako, I can write every day po. So, kayo po ako po talagang magsurat. Commitment ko man po siya sa sarili ko. Ay, hindi po, gustuhan ko po ini. Sana magustuhan din po nindo. I wrote Ode to the Turug-Turug. So, I dare not touch you, you have thorns. I dare not smell you, you shy away from attention. I whisper to you my darkest secrets, my fiercest passions, my fondest reminiscences. Sigh. My breath makes you sleep. I let water drop on your leaves, attempts to keep you nourished, bringing my wishes to green depths. You are timid with the crystal liquid. Oh, what do I say, my quiet mimosa pudica, for you to open up, share the wisdom of the universe, trapped in your pinky red bed, allowing my dreams to blossom. Will you wave your leaves, shriek with the wind? A protest to the age-old silence that mum's humans like justice and peace. Let's proceed po. Another kurit by Annabel A. Haber. This is Blooming Flowers. So, burak. Tigsikon mga burak, ang hatod kitik, harap-hatak. Pati kung kita may pikhihidaw, bulong sinda sa pagkapuungaw. Pangut kulay ang hatid, kadenang walang patid. Ligayang nasa silid, taos puso ang sisid. Last from Annabel A. Haber, I titled it River Tree. Mga kahoy sa may salog tigsik kuman, baga na paglaom na nakakaputan. Kung ika nangangaipuhan, kuta na sa imong manumpungan. Kapit lang aking mahal, anuman ang sagapal, buhay natin ay sugal, huwagi ang pagmamahal. Padangat ang peg. From Georgette R. Imperial's artworks, this is titled Lenny Rose. Tiksik ko ang kalimbahin na rosas, inspirasyon sa pagbuhi, gikan sa posas. Kabaing sa padangat na perlas, paglaom kan kasaralitan sa Pilipinas. So if you will notice, hindi lang siya nature as a topic, nagduman na kita sa socio-political issue. Rosas ka ng pag-asa, susi sa tanikala, bigkis ng pagkakaisa, pagkamulat, tuloy na. Okay, ito po, gustong-gusto ko ito. Allow me to say this. I wrote it on May 5. I posted it on my FB wall. Hope blossoms. I see leaves of green anchoring the pink blossoms of hope. I hear the whispers of the wind echo the future's promise. I feel the ground shake with the multitudes of footsteps of a country moving toward one direction of compassion and empathy. I taste the sweet flavors of truth's triumph, nurtured in the hearts of those who saw the light and never again will close their eyes. This is also the font. The title is The Font from Georgette R. Imperial. Tiksik ko ining danaw, maski ang tubig minsan ribaraw. Padagong sana ang pagsupay, usipo na nagdadanay. So padagos sana ang pagsupay, the pond has become an usipon. Then kawangis mo ay bugtong, lawa ng mga tanong, patuloy sa pagbalong, kahit pa nakakulong. Libtong o nangalathala sa himulo anto para surat Bicolano page in April 2020. So libtong, nakipagtitigan ako sa iyo, pilit inaarok ang lalim mo. Nasilip ko ang mahika sa tubig mong pinakislot na mumunting patak ng ulan sa gitna ng tag-init. Sumalok ako ng tubig mo, ipinanglinis sa katawan ko. Natutuhan ko ang pakiramdam ng kung paano ang datnan at panawan at di sadyaing makalimutan. Sumalok ako ng tubig mo, ipinampatid sa uhaw ko. Natuklasan ko ang hiwaga sa bawat paglisan at muling pag-uwi. Bit-bit ang mga bagahe ng buhay. This last artwork is titled Two Faces of Mother Nature. And this is a reflection of the climate change. Padangat ang kinabantig siko, istarantang gabos pigtatao. Sa pag-ataman ta napapaurog, kita sa iyang kasurog. Ang mga tao tigsik kuman, pigpapasiparaan katuyuhan. Stewards of the earth dapat unpeg. Abusers, please stop, I beg. So, yan po sa guidelines kang Eco Poetry Contest na at least there should be 8 lines. So, kung matigsik po kamo, mag-give mo kamong duwang sets of tigsik. But take note, ang tigsik po, preferably sa Bicol po siya. So this is an example. Sa wrong entry na po ini, may 8 lines ka na po. Ito po tanaga, 2 sets of tanaga. Kung magtatanaga kayo, pwede rin naman 2 tanaga. Mukhang magkasalungat, anyong di madalumat. Sakripisyong di sapat, kamalian ng lahat. Ligaya mo at lungkot, tao ang siyang sangkot. Katwiran ay baluktot, hantungan na may takot. I'm done. Thank you very much po. Questions po to Sir Jay. Wait.
Salamat po, ma'am. So hope you haven't missed any lines from our fellow speakers kasi they will be our judges in eco poetry. So sabi nga ni Ma'am Eilyn, tula pa lang title na at hindi universal. Use our 5 senses, sabi ni Sir Jerome. So eco poetry is our interrelations within the environment. So our challenge here is how to write in a time of climate change. So hope we are able to gather ideas from our speakers. We are now in the Q&A portion and everyone is allowed to raise questions about our discussion. So just a little housekeeping before we begin. You may type your questions in the comment section.
Okay, basa na lang.
Siguro ako na muna po mag-first question. Wala pang question.
Sige,
so since everyone has their own style of writing, as a writer po, ma'am, sir, do you still prefer poems that are very literal or would you rather advise the participants to create poems with metaphoric lines? Kasi 'di ba nasanay tayo sa sa mga tula na very literal, yung mga tipong tula na nababasa natin sa libro, sa mga lumang libro or traditional book with traditional meaning, literal meaning. Yes po.
Actually, di man po talaga sila mako-consider na literal. Tula sila traditional nga lang. They have tugma at sukat. So, Kaya lang po, ngunya, dahil naging evolve na din kita, kaya nga po tutukan ko itong tigsik, tanaga, saka free verse. Kasi madali sindang isurat. Kung mabilang kita, kada ko nun po sa Facebook na available pa ang traditional style of poetry. Gusto ko din pong banggito na si Sir Abdon Baldi Jr. from Albay. Sige siyang posting tigsik. Tapos ang tanaga, kung gustong adalan, igaw din another book. Pitong Pantig, Pintig at Pagitan, available again sa Savage Mind. So, kada ko po kitang pwedeng gibuhon na models. And there are really good models. Winning entries. So, kung masulat po ka mo, katong traditional, okay lang din yan. Basta siguruhon mo lang na bibilangon mo kung halimbawa kung 14 gabos ang syllables kang bawat linya, tapos may end rhyme siya, kaya yan, achieve yan. Pero ako personally po kaya, to tell you the truth, dahil po ako kaya nagsurat. May po akong pisurat na araw kaya, mas katong younger years ko pa. So, tapos po, kung kami po mag-judge, okay lang po yan dahil may criteria man po kita. Basta yaon duman ang content, yaon ang creativity, swak siya sa team, sige. Pero sa healing ko po kaya personally, saka sa experience ko din, mas kaya po kita, mas magiging malaya kita, magiging nakabuhi kita, mas mapapaalab pa natin yung ating pagsusulat kung hindi tayo makakahon sa pagbibilang ng tugma at sukat. Kasi pag inano mo na itong rhymes, pag puro yan naka-rhyme, si gusto mo sabihin na words, dahil mo na siya magagamit dahil hindi siya katugma o katunog nung nauna. So yun po ang disadvantage ng traditional form of poetry. Si Sir J. po.
Sa kuya man po, yung mga traditional poems po kaya, that's good for discipline kung gusto mo yung pagdidisiplina sa pagtutulad, yung follow that particular format. But when you submit your entry for a certain contest, kapag ako yung judge, isa kami sa judge ni Ma'am Ayen, then babalik kami sa mga principles namin sa creative writing at sasabihin namin, maganda yung tula pero hindi siya naisulat sa sarili niyang panahon. Kasi gone are the days when poets are writing following certain line forms, right? Yung traditional ways, may end rhymes. May panahon siya at hindi natin sinasabi na hindi siya maganda, sinasabi natin that that's balagtasismo, yung panahon ni Balagtas, yan, maganda yon. And we do not compare the panahon, no, the times. It's very unethical to compare whether which panahon is better or which is not that good. But mga best sila sa sarili nilang mga panahon. Pero going back sa panahon natin, sinasabi natin that if you want to have good poems, then it has to echo the reality in the present, and the way we speak should be the way you also write. Kasi that becomes authentic. That will make your echo poetry, be it echo poetry or poetry in general, it will make your poem beautiful kasi sinasalamin niya kung paano tayo magsalita at makipag-communicate sa panahon ngayon.
Thank you, Mom and Sir. And another question from our viewer. So, are slang words and Taglish, Tagalog, English allowed in this echo poetry?
Yung sa contest, of course we will follow the criteria. Okay, we go back to the guidelines. Pero so kung sa general echo poetry, again, as I've discussed earlier, language is not actually the problem. It's not the destination, but a vehicle. What do I mean with that? By saying that, I mean that yung wika ay hindi actually problema. Some people are problematizing what language will I write. I think I have given the guidelines to you earlier that you have to dream, managinip tayo, and we do not forget the language of our dreams. Because the language of our dreams is the language of our heart, and it's the best language to use in your poem? Kasi mas totoo ka doon sa wikang iyon. No? Saan ka ba nananaginip? Yun yung unang tanong ko sa nagtanong. At yung wika na yon ang gamitin mo sa pagtutula.
Okay. Sa akin naman po, it can work. Basta po, sige, maghalo-halo ka, mag-Taglish ka, mag-Biglish ka. Basta, nandun yung criteria, pasok pa rin. Nandun yung theme, nandun yung creativity. Kasi at the end of the day, ang pinaka-importante po natin, yung craft of poetry. Dapat tula talaga siya. Dapat literary talaga siya. Yun po yun. And yun nga po, sabi nga ni Sir Jay, magsulat ka sa wikang nananaginip ka. Kasi ako po nagsulat ng una sa English. Pero nangangarap pa rin naman ako sa English. Pero ngayon, mas nangangarap po ako sa Bicol. So I write mainly in Bicol. I commit to writing in Bicol in 2008. And I never stopped. So siguro sa atin lahat, maganda rin panuntunan nyo na pag nagpuon ka nga ni, dahil mo nga ni pagtatapuson, dagos na, padayon.
Okay, thank you, Mom. Okay, Sir Jerome, do you have anything to share about title making?
Yung pagsusulat ng title, dapat well, the general rule really is when you want to become poet, hindi tayo burara sa mga salita. We always have to think twice and think 3 times before we finally consider a certain word to be included or not in a particular title. But the title should be like giving titles is like giving name to a son, to a child. So it has to introduce the content. It has to introduce the tula at hindi ma-overpower niya yung tula. Kung minsan kasi ang ganda-ganda ng ang title. That's when you read through the entire poem, parang you were betrayed. There was a very beautiful promise, but at the end of the day, it's a promise unmet. No, we were betrayed by the title. Yung title, it has to introduce something. It's promising. It's giving a promise, and the body should actually fulfill that promise given by the title. So ganoon na lang siguro yung pag-answer kasi generally yung pagbibigay ng title ay nasa individual writer talaga yun, no? So ang iba like yung padangat collection of poems ko, yung padangat becomes a part, really the first line of the poem, no? So it's another technique. Pwede naman yung title is a part of the entire poem, no? A line it could be, or as mentioned by Ma'am Eilyn earlier, it could be a one word, but it echoes, no, the content or yung kung anong gustong sabihin ng tula. So yun siguro kung paano sagutin yung tanong. There's no definite definition and definite process on writing, be it the content of the tula or the title. Sa amin lang ay siguro guidelines, no, or guide lang kami ni Ate Eilyn dito. Kasi at the end of the day, kayo naman talaga yung poet. At kami. Kayo talaga mag-decide kasi kayo yung poet.
Okay, sir. Additional lang po. So as a writer po, sir, is there a good and bad title po?
Yung bad title siguro yung na-overpower niya na yung ang ganda-ganda ng title, pero yung kapag pinag-isipan masyado yung title tapos hindi naman maganda yung tula, 'di ba? So yun, pag-isipin yung tula at the same time yung title. Pero yung kung ang tanong alin yung unang isusulat, I think I could give the answer to that. You please write first the tula, no? And then the title should introduce the poem. So yun, magsimula siguro tayo sa pagsulat ng tula prior to choosing which is the best title to write on that particular poem.
All right. Thank you, sir. So what tip or advice can you give to our fellow writers? Most especially the theme or the topic will be given on the day of the contest. Kasi may mga times, 'di ba, na yung mga contestants, may mga prepared na silang tula. Tapos biglang may theme, may topic, tapos kinompare nila, parang sila, away from the theme.
Okay, sige po. I'll go first po. Ano po? Preparation. Wala naman tayong ibang pwedeng gawin. Ki-contest yan, ki-daily life yan, sa buong buhay natin, isa lang talaga ang susi, maghanda. So ngayon, meron pa tayong 2 linggo o more than a week. So, let's start writing poetry po. Right. Pagkatapos po ng webinar na to, magsulat na kayo. So, write your masterpiece. Tapos, ipapolish nyo na lang siya araw-araw because the writing is in the rewriting. Sige, kung alam nyo lang kung ilang drafts yung pangaturugan ko doon sa writer series namin, yung mga aklat doon sa para sulat Bicolano writer series, naka 11 plus yata kami na revisions. So ganun po talaga. So start writing today. Tapos ipakita sa coach. Pero meron pa rin po akong gustong sabihin sa my dear co-teachers who are going to be coaches. Sana po nagbabasa rin kayo. Sana po susulat din kayo ng tula para mas makapag-coach po kayo. So, isang challenge din po yun. Thank you.
Sa akin naman, yung mga nag-prepare ng mga tula, Ate Eilyn, I had already developed these eyes to look for what is authentic poem and not. No, alam namin yun kapag prepared or somebody wrote it for that particular contest. Alam namin yan. Kasi, again, babalik kami sa mga principles na pinapollow namin, di ba? Yung authenticity really will spring from the self, the rawness. We're not looking here for the best poets ever live in Calabanga, but really the potential poet whom we can we can mold actually into becoming a real published poet someday. Yung laging hinahanap ko, yung freshness, gaano kabago yung tula kahit pa ang dami-dami ng mga tula tungkol sa kapaligiran. No? How can you make something that is already an old theme, an old topic? Nandito na yan, nauna pa sa atin yung kapalibutan natin bago tayo ipinanganak. Pero how will you make that, how will you present that as fresh as possible is actually a craft that a young poet can actually accomplish. Kami kasi we're burdened, we have a lot of baggages because of readings, because of training workshops that we have attended. But ang saya-saya lang kapag babasa ako ng mga galing sa mga bagong poets kasi may iba silang sinusulat, something that is not trained, something that is raw, no? Yun yung maganda doon Alam mo, hindi sila pa nakapag-attend ng workshop. Alam mo, kakunti pa lang yung trainings nila na attend nila, but they have very beautiful poem that is then therefore something is really a potential in that particular person. Yun yung talaga papanaluhin namin ni Ate Ay.
Dagdag ko lang po, ma'am. Ano po kasi, when we read, lalo na poetry, literature piece, the sincerity of the piece somehow transcends. Somehow it reaches us. So alam namin kung sincere yung pagkakasulat. The voice of the young poet will really be heard. So, meron na kami yung naka-built-in na pandinig. Alam na namin yan. So, kaya, congratulations advance sa top 3.
Dadagdagan ko si Ate Ayan, kasi yun, nasisense namin kapag robotic yung tula, napaka-technical, di ba? Parang pigbilang niya talaga, di ba?
O pinilit yung rhymes.
Parang pilit. But anything that is pilit is not beautiful. Kaya nga, again, yung authenticity will bring about tenderness, no? And tenderness is very crucial for poetry. Dapat may something that will touch the heart and will touch the readers at the same time.
Saka, meron pa po, it's not even the length. Huwag po kayo magsabi na pag mahaba, sure winner na. No. Kasi malalaman mo rin talaga yan. Kami, alam din namin na ito, halimbawa, 4 lines. Ay, okay na ako. First stanza pa lang. Pipiliin ko na to. So, pero, kaya may technique din eh. Dapat alam mo din kung magsusulat ka. Technique din yung na i-withhold mo muna yung pinakamaganda. Pwede mo siyang ilagay sa last line o ilalagay mo na agad siya sa first line. So, bahala po kayo kasi po kami, babasahin naman po talaga namin yung kabuuan ng tula and then we decide. Pero malaking factor po talaga kung ano po yung mararamdaman po namin pag binasa na namin po yung inyong mga masterpieces. Surat na.
Okay, so magsurat na kita puon ngunyan. Dapat nga ni kadto pa. So what tip or advice can you give to the teachers, also coaches? Kasi po may times po 'di ba na overcoaching yung mga yung mga student nakadepende na yung pagsulat nila sa coach nila. Nawawala na yung authenticity, yung sarili nilang ideas kasi nakadepende dun sa gusto ng coach nila.
I think na sabi na ni Ate Ayan na yung pinaka-best advice for the coaches because again, we have when you want to become best coaches also. Okay. Sorry. Siguro na sabi na ni Ate Ayan kanina yung best advice niya for the coaches ano. Siguro yung magbasa rin tayo at maging mahalina din tayo sa panitikan bago tayo mag-coach sa mga estudyante natin. Kasi mahalaga iyon. Hindi lang again magtatapos sa contest na ito, dapat yung pagtitrain natin sa mga estudyante natin na magsulat sila. Kung hindi, it's a lifelong process really. Dapat panghabang buhay natin i-advocate na they also write well and write about nature, write about their surrounding. Kasi isa itong paraan, again, sa pag-immortalize ng kung ano tayo ngayon, di ba? Kung ano tayo bilang Kalabanggenyo, bilang tao, bilang mga tao sa komunidad, sa pamilya man ito or sa community in general. And at the same time, again, overcoaching is no good. The best thing really to do is to just motivate our students to write well. Wala na sigurong ibang pwedeng magawa yung coach natin kung hindi ma-motivate sila na mahalin yung pagbasa at mahalin yung pagsulat at mahalin yung sarili kasi at the end of the day, it's really the self. No, it's developing the self of the poet that will really bring about beautiful poems, beautiful lines of poems. Thank you.
So, dagdag ko lang din, ma'am. Yung kasi yung sinabi ni Sir J, tula na rin. Napaka-poetic nun. The loving of the self is what going to make our poems very beautiful. Gusto ko lang din pong sabihin na, dear coaches, you coach, let them write. Yun na lang po siguro. Pero, para ka man nakapag-coach effectively, you should really give yourselves weapons. Yun na nga, through reading, and then through also immersing yourselves, you try also to write. Kasi lahat naman tayo may capacity talaga, may ability magsulat. At kung nakinig lang kayo sa lecture, you can really start writing right now. So, inspiration lang po talaga yon. And sana naman po, na-inspire namin kayo. Kasi kami ni Sir J, we are forever inspired. Hindi kami nalolobat. Unlimited. That's what literature or creative writing and the environment writing is giving us.
All right, thank you sir and ma'am. I believe that our viewers na-inspired din ngayong araw. So I will be calling Sir James Earn Esperida, our head in iLab ARAL 2-3 mission.
Thank you, Ma'am Meden. Meron lamang akong isang karagdagang katanungan kasi napakaganda ng ating ng diskusyon sa eco-poetry. Gaano nga ba kahalaga ang kamalayan sa kalikasan para makalikha ng isang napaka-impactful na eco-poem?
Napakahalaga kasi kung nasaan tayo ngayon will actually bring about what are the other things that we can do in the future, ano. So kasi yung sources natin, be it writing, be it filmmaking, be it photo essay, be it photography, no, ay magbabase sa kung ano pa ang narito sa atin. Kasi if you can notice, there are like fauna and fauna, animals and plants that are here in us before, but are not yet, but are not anymore here right now. No, parang wala na sila, at paano pa natin sila ma-experience, at for the future generation, how will they appreciate them? Okay, kung wala na. So yun yun siguro, no. So sa pagsusulat, mahalaga na mayroon din tayong respeto sa kapaligiran, kasi yun yung source natin of writing. So kaya again, we should be with the community in trying to preserve the resources that are still with us, so that we can, in a way, help the community, if not to restore them, to again make sure that they are preserved for the generations to come.
May I add, sir? Speaking of preservation, when we write, we also preserve language. So, kung ma-extinct man yan, at least na-record na siya. So, the coming generations can read. So, ano ang situation? Kaya sabi ko kasubago, you have to really know, reflect, immerse yourselves in the realities of Calabanga, here and now. Then write about it. And then, let's do our forms of writing and our forms of art influence. Let's allow them to influence our community folks to be acting accordingly. So, saro po yan. So, it's very important. It's not local. Saro pa yan. Let's think global, but act local. Thinking globally, climate change and eco-poetry, environmental literature is really one of the trends now internationally. So, kaikuhan talaga na makiayon man kita. Let's give our voice. Let's lend our efforts toward that cause, toward that advocacy. Tapos, ano ang yaon sa Calabanga? So, pangatamanan ta, isustain ta. So, this is a very powerful weapon. Remember, words have power.
Okay, thank you for that, Sir Jerome and Ma'am Eilyn. I also have another question. And since one of our partners, this Enviro contest is co-led by the LGU Calabanga and Calabanga Municipal Tourism Office. How can environmental literacy or environmental literary promote or boost the tourism of one locality?
Sige po, ako po. Actually po, from Ragay, bilang sarong namamanwaan, nakulaon po ang pagmaut ko, napakalaki ng pagnanais ko na talagang maging involved talaga ang mga LGUs, ang ating mga local leaders and officials toward the environmental care, protection, and sustainability. Ang alam ko kaya, igo kita ng mga projects sa LGU na may fund na para dyan. So, gamiton to si fund, pagkatapos, para po makaboost sa tourism. Sige daw, isulat ninto si Sir Jerome, nagsurat yan tungkol sa salog kang Calabanga. Nagsurat siya sa tungkol sa abo. Ako aram ko, masiramon ang taga-Calabangang singkamas. March and April, nag-iigdit talaga ako para mamakyaw. Pinakamasiram na singkamas na nakakan ko. I have written a poem about it. I will share it with Sir James. Tapos, abo, paborito ko ang abo, maski mahal. O sa inyan, hali sa Sabang Calabanga. Right? Let's write about that. Pero bako lang as topics about poetry. Laga ng taning socio-cultural and socio-economic and even socio-political issues and concerns sa mga pigsusurata, sa mga pigki-create ng artwork, sa mga photographista. So, di ba? Iyan. Pagkatapos, gamitong taang social media, ang gabos na available platforms na mai-boost na yan. I tell you, kaipuhan lang talaga na itatama talang gabos ang paagi, tapos consistency is the name of the game or the key. Mag-post kita sa Calabanga LGU website, pero dapat dire-diretso ang activities. May I share with you ang ginigibo kang birak sa pandag sa Catanduanes with the Tourism Office. Nagpupunsin da ng serong activity, socio-cultural activity para sa tourism projects ninda. Pero taon-taon, may year 1, may year 2, may year 3, tapos nagdadagdag sinda ng events or activities sa kada taon. So, nag-i-evolve siya, nasusustain siya. That's one, I guess. O, si Sir Jay naman.
Siguro siguro sa pag-answer kayo na hapon na yan, mapasalamat siguro ako sa LGU no, sa pagsusuporta sa literature and culture sa Calabanga. Aram ta na ang sa itong munisipyo, ang taon ta kadakulod dyan mga artists, cultural workers that are actually doing great things underground. So, mahalaga na ang gobyerno nagsusuporta sa mga arog kaining mga gibo. Kasi sinasabi niya to na ang progreso yaon sa ekonomiya, yaon sa market, pero kung dai inilala ganing puso, kaluluwa, dai ini maabot dumas kung ano lang kalangkaw ang progreso na pinapangarap ta o pinapangapurugan niya to So kasi again yung kultura, yung panitikan will always give us this motivation, inspiration to really do more than what were already done before. So, yan siguro yung gasolina ini o ini ang mapadalagan sa tuya sa mas halangkaw pa na progreso kung sa tuyang namumuka na banwaan. So again, at the same time, tutungkusan ko din, so sinabi ni Ate Ayan, dailang kita magpundo sa mga arog kaining contest, piglalako mi man sa university, sa paagikan sa muyang programang language studies and literary arts production and practices na makisumaro man ng LGU dangan ang DepEd sa mga writers workshop. Sining man parte man ako kang para surat Bicol noon na nag-organisa every year ning literary workshop inapod niya sa Saringsing National Writers Workshop. Siguro mag-collaborate pa kita sa mga arog kaining undertakings para mas mapaunlad ka pa ang pagsurat sa satong banwaan. Mabalos po.
Gusto ko lang idagdag, Sir James, na pag nag-uulay kaya puso sa puso, mas madaling magkaintindihan. Sa literature and the arts, yaon din ang puso. Humanities kasi baga siya. So, makipag-ulay lang kita, puso sa puso, para magdanay ang pagkaintindihan. So, kadagos lang. Salamat din po sa Calabanga, sa Ropoka mo sa LGU na nag-aampon sa kuya. Halos 4 or 5 times a year nasa Calabanga po ako. Salamaton po.
Salamat po, sir and ma'am. So bako lang iniyo pagpadangat sa kapalibutan, as in pagpadangat man sa pagsurat, as in sa tuyang mga parasurat. So thank you so much. To further understand our guidelines in eco poetry, may I call one of the Enviro Awakener, Ms. Señorita Bustamante, Teacher 1 in Calabanga East District.
Ako na.
Okay. To our competent speakers, to iLab ARAL creator, to my co-facilitators, climate change advocates, and to everyone who is watching, good afternoon. Mrs. Chen Bustamante here, one of the volunteers of iLab ARAL and a 2-3 mission and the contest manager of the Eco Poetry Contest. Earlier, there was a very good discussion. Many questions were answered by our great and expert speakers to be more clear about what the Eco Poetry Contest really is. I am here to present or discuss the objectives, contest guidelines, and rubrics that must be followed by coaches and participants. Okay. Objectives. Eco Poetry to instill in the heart of young Calabangueños the importance of environmental conservation and climate action, to show off the talents and skills of high school students in poetry writing, to influence people in the schools and communities on climate actions. This eco-poetry is intended for grade 7 to 12. Maximum of 20 participants, 1 to 2 participants per school. Okay. Contest guidelines. Interested participants must be pre-registered by their coaches before August 27, 2022 at 12 midnight or until the slots are available. The contest is only limited to 20 participants. So, depende po yung slots natin sa 20 participants lang. Kaya, meron na po tayong, we have 6 participating schools na po na nag-register. So, meron pa po tayong 14 for Eco Poetry. So, hurry na po. Registration link, https, Calabanga Environment Test. So, diyan po makikita yung guidelines din and then yung premiere din natin. Okay, number 2, the coach must be a teacher in the school where the participant is enrolled. There will be a registration fee of 100 per event, inclusive of coach and participants. So, yung coach po, siya na po yung pwedeng magbayad through GCash. Nandun na rin po yun sa aming letter and other Facebook announcement kung paano po mag-register. Okay, ng payment po. While there is no limitation for coaches to handle many events, the contestant should only participate in one contest only. So yung bata po, isa lang contest po ang sasalihin niya because sa secondary po, 2 events po meron tayo. Yung Eco Poetry and yung Environment Poster. Pero yung coach po, hindi po siya limited sa isang contest only. Kung pwede po siyang maging coach sa 2 event na po. A confirmation email or message will be sent if the participant is accepted into the competition. Okay. Number 3, all confirmed participants must watch the digital webinar on mobile photography, eco poetry, and environment poster that is accessible through the iLab ARAL Facebook page and YouTube channel. So, recorded naman po itong webinar natin. So, pwede nyo pong balikan. It is also available on Creative Labs under Android app, downloadable through Play Store. Pang-apat po, number 4, the theme of the poetry will be announced during the contest day. After which, the contestant will be given 5 minutes to consult with the coach. The contestant shall be given 1 hour to work on their entry. No more coach interference is allowed during this period. Each participant should create and submit 1 original poem written in Bicol, Filipino, or English language, and any poetic style. So kanina po na-clear out na po yan ng ating mga speakers. Basta po sabi nila, matouch yung kanilang feelings. Yan. Number 5, the contest materials, examples, paper and pencil or pen will be provided by the organizer. Number 6, the entry must not have been published, self-published, and made public on social media, broadcast, or featured as entry in other poetry contests. 7, all entries must have a title and must have 8 to 32 lines or 2 to 8 stanzas. So kanina po, nabanggit na rin po yan ni Ma'am Eilyn and ni Sir. Number 8, all entries will be judged anonymously and the participant's name must not appear on the poem itself. The result shall be final and irrevocable. The artist will be held accountable for any issues that may arise with regard to the originality and authenticity of the design. So, bibigyan lang po namin kayo ng numbers and then wala pong name na ilalagay doon sa inyong piece or any marks po na magpapakilala kung kanino galing yung piece na yun. Our rubric, number 1 is relevance. The entry should effectively communicate and emphasize the theme. It is 40%. Creativity or poetic technique and presentation. Through the use of poetic style, harmony of words, and creative presentation, the poem must draw the attention of the judges and the audience. It is 30%. And then, the last one, originality. The entry must showcase creativity and uniqueness. 30%, the total of 100%. The top 3 winners shall be awarded with certificate and cash. Non-winners will receive a certificate of participation. All entries may be published or print or digital media on various platforms. So makikita po ninyo yung mga gawa nyo sa iLab pages, sa Facebook and YouTube, and sa ating Municipal Tourism Hall po. First place will receive 200,000 pesos. 2,000 pesos. Second place, 1,500. Third place, 1,000 pesos. And a certificate. The intellectual property rights over all the prize-winning works and other non-winning works shall be given to organizer in perpetuity. This includes the right to use, produce, or reproduce for whatever purpose and whichever form as may be deemed fit by the organizer without further compensation to the artist or his heirs and assignees. Rest assured that the property credit shall be given to the artist or authors. So me, with my colleagues, Ma'am Earn Esperida, Ma'am Mari Rudy, and Filipina Gutierrez, would like to invite you to join Eco Poetry. Please submit your entries before August 27. See you on September 6 at 8 a.m. Our venue will be at the nesting place. Okay. That's all. And back to you, Ma'am Meden.
You cannot start. All right, thank you so much, Ma'am Chen. So before we end this webinar, alam namin maraming naibahagi sa atin ang ating guest speaker. Pero po, Sir Jerome and Ma'am Eilyn, can we ask a little more of your time to share your last statements?
Last statement, ano?
Sorry.
Siguro, living state, ano ako yan, para tapusin siguro si webinar na ano. So, concluding statement, I think. Yeah. Siguro yung concluding statement ko really is for the writers, young writers, budding poets, young poets to really live a literary life, as I've said, no? Try to do something else that you have not done before. You're listening to good music, watch your favorite film, no? And then observe the surrounding, observe nature, visit the sea, no? Sunong-suno ni Ate Ayan, magbisita sa mga dagat na yan, no? Sa mga hilingon, ang mga magagayon na burak, yan, those things, no, yung pag-experience sa mga bagay na magagayon would really make you motivated to write poems. So siguro yan, as in magbasa talaga, no? magbasa, tapos mag-practice na everyday. Kung gusto magbali sa contest, everyday magsurat kahit pa yan one-liner or one sentence, one paragraph, one stanza. Basta nagsusurat ka everyday. So yun. And of course, take good care of yourself and your surroundings. Mabalos po.
Okay. Ako naman po, we writers can have the best of both worlds. Paano? Sige, we can have the best of solitude and we can have the best of community. So pag nagsosolo ka kaya, mas nadadangog mo ang messages of the universe. So sabihin ni Sir J, go to places that make you happy and then immerse yourself in the experience and then write. Then, after that, you go out, collaborate, so that you can have friends and a sense of community. O, human lang po yan. And then do it daily. Make it a daily habit. Try po rin daw mag-journal. It works for me po talaga kaya. Nagsusurat po talaga ako para po, saka pwede mo mapabalikan itong journal mo kaya in the years to come, pwede mo siyang gamitin na material for your writing. Ang maganda po kasi journaling is that ang ayan mo niya na aldaw, bako na siya ang ayan sa masunod na aldaw. So nahihiling ko po mismo ang pagtalubo ko, ang pag-evolve ko, bako lang bilang babae o tao, kundi bilang parasulat, bilang namumuot sa literatura sa kapalibutan. So kami po, nagsatauma lang kami sa Indoni, advice and inspiration or motivation. Dahil iniman po ang buhay mi. Sumaog mo man po ang literary life. There is really a happiness, there is really contentment, and there is really satisfaction. And the sense that you are able to share with the rest of the world and the rest of the universe. And even a little bit from our pens. Ang panurat mi, natutubod kami na saka may mga validation po kaya sa muya na whatever we write is making this world a better place. Thank you very much.
Thank you po, Ma'am, Sir. So, pasensya na sa bago nagkawara. Last na da kaya, last na. Na last statement na lugod.
Tayo po pwede. Takol po kami isusurat.
All right. So, we hope that this would help students understand the environmental changes around us and give them the opportunity to express their emotions through poetry.
Ay, ma'am, pwede po magdagdag?
Sige po.
Okay po. Ano po gani? Gusto ko po kayo magtaon ng motivation sa challenge, saka inspiration sa coaches. Si ma first place po, ang magpi-first place po, I will give 3 books para sa school. Sa school library po saro po ang sa kuyang poetry book, saro pa pong foreign book na magagamit sa pagsurat, saka po si theater book mi po sa sulo. na para po magamit po sa senior high school si creative writing. So, ako po mismo, madara kayan sa September 6, saka mata also first placer para po sa school ninda. Yay! From para sulat Bicolano.
Thank you po, ma'am. So ako man po, may re-recommend. Pwede po kita magbisita sa Savage Mind. May mga libro po naman si Sir Jerome and si Ma'am Eilyn.
Ay, baka po sold out na po garo itong libro me. Di ba, Sir Jay?
Ibig sabihin magayon.
Available pa po sa Shopee account kang Savage Mind. Itong sa kuya po, pangaturugan. Sayang may akong darangon yan. Pero sa September 6 po, madara po talaga.
Okay, thank you po, ma'am. This won't be possible without the collaboration of the members of iLab ARAL, the local government unit of Calabanga, and the Municipal Tourism Culture and the Arts of Calabanga. Also, DepEd West Calabanga District and Calabanga East District. Calabanga District Secondary Schools, San Isidro Development Cooperatives, Dulot Art Group, Art Gallery Cafe, Flash and Focus Studio, and our sponsor for our venue, Nesting Place. Again, we will be having our contest on September 6, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Nesting Place Integrated Farm, Bigaas, Calabanga, Camarines Sur, Philippines 4408. 5. Also, this won't be possible without the collaboration of the Planning Committee, Technical Committee, and Steering Committee.